Okay, we are back with another podcast. We are going to get into training and nutrition and what we're doing for our dieting and our workouts, and kind of explain a little bit of the routine and why it's working for us. So bear with us. But before we get to that, we are going to go over what we accomplished this week and our general weight loss and progress. So this week, I actually lost 5 pounds from last Saturday to this Saturday. I went from 231.2 down to 226.2. So, like, it's pretty much 5 pounds on the dot what I lost. Now, I'm hoping that's all water and fat, like 2 pounds of fat, 3 pounds of water, but I might have lost a little bit of tissue in there. But the reason why I think it's a lot of water weight is because I am carb cycling. So, from day to day, my carbs fluctuate, and therefore, like, I lose like 3 to 6 pounds, 4 to 6 pounds a night from what I weigh in the evening to what I weigh in the morning because how much water weight I lose overnight. So I'm hoping I didn't lose any tissue. My muscles are still looking full. My shoulders are round. My bellies are looking really nice and plump. I don't look flat. I don't look deflated, but my waistline has came in a lot. My stomach's getting flat. My sides are pulling in. I'm starting to get a lot more definition in my shoulders. I'm getting a lot of definition in my thighs. So I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction. But also the reason why the big jump in weight loss is because of the way that we're training. And it's very demanding on glucose and fuel and energy, but we'll get into that in a second. How did you do on your week?
My weekly low, which would be today, has kind of stalled out over the past couple of weeks. So I'm right back to around 260, 261 again, which is not necessarily bad, but again, if looking at like a weight loss kind of thing, not necessarily good either.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like for me, composition wise, that I do look a little bit better than I did in previous, like each week I've looked a little bit better even though my weight hasn't drastically like changed a whole bunch. But I feel that doing the little bit of carb cycling that I have been doing, I don't think has really been structured all that well, and I'm going to restructure it to a much more better plan and have that hopefully help push my all around results to a better place.
Okay, in a minute, I do want to get to that and kind of dissect your diet a little bit and see exactly what you're doing, and we'll go over it right now, over as far as it goes for your diet and what we could do to make that better, and I'll go over my diet and what I'm actually doing now because I have made adjustments. But before we do that, let me talk about the training. Okay, so with the training, the way that we do it, for those of you who don't know, we do one set. We work out everything twice a week, Monday through Saturday. We do the whole body Monday through Wednesday, and then we repeat Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the first week of the program, we do 3 sets of everything all the way through one time. And then on week 2 of the program, we do 6 sets, and we do 3 sets of everything all the way through. And then we rest for about 5-10 minutes. We drink an intra-workout shake, and then we do it all the way through again for another 3 sets of everything. The third week of the program, we do 4 sets of everything, and then we rest 5 to 10 minutes after we make it through the program, and then we redo the whole program again immediately after. So that goes from a total of a workout, 12 sets, 24 sets to 32 sets, being 24 sets a week, 48 sets a week, and then 64 sets in the week. Total, a lot of volume. Our intensity is mild. We do not bring our intensity crazy high. We keep the weights between, let's say, maybe 1 to 5 reps, 5 shy of failure. We don't push to failure on anything we do. We do not go to failure. Cannot stress that enough. If you're going to train high frequency with high volume, intensity is not your friend. Like going super high intensity and doing rest pause, supersets, drop sets, negatives, and forcing every last ounce of energy out of that rep on that final set, and then doing another set and another set and another set, it's not going to work for you. Like, I've tried it. Me and you did that pretty much almost all last year, and it really honestly just set us back. Like, I lost like a lot of muscle mass doing that, and it didn't work. So this year we're pulling back the intensity like crazy, we're upping the volume like crazy, and then we're upping the frequency. So that way it's like, okay, we did a year of intensity, now we're going to do a year of just straight volume. And it wasn't just a straight year of intensity. It was back and forth a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it was more intensity than anything else.
Yeah, this just allows like more of a, for the two of us at least, like it allows more of like a mind body connection, I guess, with the actual muscle being worked, instead of just pushing for like a strain and like a, I guess, like a hard workingness of it. having more of the actual feel of the muscle, like contracting, holding, and then getting that burn at the end and go like and feeling the muscle in general kind of burn out, but without having to go to that point of like that's it, I can't do anymore at all. So it's just allowed like a better response from my body in doing that than just going for the heavy strain of doing like heavy deadlifts or squats or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing too about this training is it's like I've noticed when I'm doing high intensity training, there comes a point where like, especially if you're logbooking, if you're doing high intensity, chances are you're chasing the logbook. You have to write your numbers down. You have to follow your numbers because it's always about progressive overload. I'm progressively overload. I had to either get more reps, more weight, more reps, more weight, more. Eventually, the weight gets so heavy that the transition of the feel of the movement goes from muscular to strain, and then you don't even really feel it in the muscles no more. Our goal is to pick a weight, no matter the number is arbitrary, doesn't matter. We're going to pick a weight, and we're going to feel that entire rep from the very first rep to the very last rep, all the way through 100%. And if we don't feel that muscle working 100% the whole entire time, we either go up in weight because we're not going heavy enough, or we go down in weight. And a lot of times we end up going down in weight, and it gives us a bigger, better, more lasting pump. Because the thing is, we're trying to push as much blood into the muscle as we can to stretch that the fascia tissue out and get it swollen and engorged. Because here's the kicker: the more blood you put in the muscle, the more the fascia tissue stretches, the more nutrients you get in the muscle, the more it can grow and repair, and the bigger it can get. Call it bro science, look it up. It's up to you. Believe it. I don't care. It works. This is what the guys did back in the day. This is what a lot of guys did. I mean, I'm not going to name names and cite sites, but just like from everything we've researched, we looked up, like it's one or the other. If you're going to go high intensity, you got to go low volume. If you're going to go low intensity, you got to go high volume. It's one or the other. You can kind of float there in the middle somewhere, but like I said, for most cases, it's one or the other. If you want to get the most out of your training and stuff like that, you can't really halfway do it one way or another. If you're maintaining, sure, right? But we're not trying to maintain. We're trying to lose a lot of fat and put on the most amount of muscle we can while losing the most amount of fat. We're not trying to gain. We're not trying to maintain. We're not bulking. We're not cutting. We're trying to put on the most amount of muscle we can while dropping the most amount of fat in the fastest amount of time. I've also noticed this time around, I'm only going on 2 walks a day, and I go about 10 to 20 minutes at a very, very comfortable pace. I'm not doing any actual cardio besides that. No Stairmaster, no nothing. And working that way we're working out right now, my muscles are fuller, they're bigger, they're more plumped, I have more energy, and I'm losing way more body fat and looking way leaner and less stringy this time around. Mm-hmm. And when I was doing high intensity with cardio, I was looking stringy and I was looking like beaten down and deflated. Cardio and high intensity makes me look stringy and deflated. Doing a lot of high volume with almost no cardio makes me look full and keeps me full, and it leans me out in a better way. So this is working for me. And cycling the volume, the reason why we cycle the volume is because the week of just 3 sets, that's our rest week. It's a deload without a deload. It's a week off without being a week off. It allows our body to reset. So imagine running for 1 mile and then running for 3 miles and then running for 6 miles or 7 miles, right? Every week, I'm going to run 3 miles this week every day. Then I'm going to run 5 miles every day, and then I'm going to run 8 miles every day. And then you go back down to 3 miles for a week. When you go back to 8, it's going to be difficult again. It's not because like it became harder. It's just because you gave your body a chance to rest, recover, relax, and kind of untrain from that. You cannot continuously hold that amount of volume for a duration of time taking off. So it allows you to kind of almost like carb cycling, but with set cycling. So we cycle our volume. So instead of doing progressive overload with weights and reps, we do it with sets. Our weights are typically the same. Our reps are typically the same. And then the only thing that changes for our progressive overload is we progressive overload through sets. Every week we do more sets and then we reset. Because in powerlifting, the concept is as your intensity goes up, your volume goes down. So that way your intensity can continue to rise. You can't continuously raise intensity and volume at the same time. So volume comes down, intensity goes up. So we're doing it the exact opposite. We're keeping the intensity down while increasing the volume and doing progressive overload through an overload of sets instead of extra reps or extra weights. And it's working great. My joints feel great too. Mm-hmm. My joints feel absolutely amazing. And the soreness is absolutely Incredible.
Yeah.
So I think the reason I'll let you get your thought on that. I think the reason why I lost so much weight this week and I lost that 5 pounds is just because this was our 32 set week, right? This is our high set week. This is week 3, and all that work just depleted my glucose and all my muscle store all my glucose. But tomorrow Sunday, and I'm going to get around 800 carbohydrates, and then next week is our week of 3. So my weight's going to be up and it's going to be higher because my muscles are going to have time to soak up all that glucose and get ready for the next 2 weeks to come. And it's working really well. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, for like what you were saying, feeling wise, my shoulder has usually been a big issue, especially like most of last year. Had a lot of issues with my shoulder, doing like shoulder presses, lots of movements, like anything that involved really like overhead kind of like movements. And with changing to the style that we have right now, even doing shoulder press, I'm not having as much of an issue, and I'm actually using more weight than I was before. Not an excessive amount by any means, but definitely more than what I was using, and I'm able to get through the sets and everything. Even doing this week where we were doing like 4 sets and then another 4 sets of the same exercises, I didn't really have big issues. Same with my elbow. My elbow used to give me trouble doing like tricep extensions, rope extensions, anything like that. Now, instead of me feeling my elbow fatiguing and hurting me on those exercises, I'm feeling my tricep actually burning out, and it's not just a concentrated spot on me, which is what's helping me overall, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Like the years of heavy lifting, all it's done was just put years on my joints of strain. And the whole concept of bodybuilding is putting load on the muscle, increasing the stress and load under stretch with volume and pumping on the muscle. And if you go too heavy, you start transitioning the load onto the joints because you're trying to lift more weight. So you're going to start recruiting more muscles to move the same amount of weight or more weight for more reps or whatever. And then it just becomes counterproductive if you start hurting your joints and you start getting aches and pains and getting arthritis and everything else. And it just becomes counterproductive. And then eventually you're going to get so beat up, you're going to have to take legitimate time off from the gym to recover. And then that's progress you're losing from being in the gym.
Yeah, because my mobility has been trash since the get-go. Like for many years my mobility has been trash, and trying to work on it, I just have trouble with something like that consistently doing it every day. Like I know that I can find time to, but I just never really get around to keeping like a good schedule with that. But again, the stuff we were doing before was more joint based and had more of the strain kind of added into it to where I felt the joints a lot more. Again, doing this now, even with leg movements, my knees used to bother me on certain movements because I don't have a very low squat ability. But doing this stuff now, I'm able to do those movements a lot easier with my feet in a more like straight position, not having to do my usual like wide angle kind of thing. And it's not hurting my knees, and I'm not feeling it so much in like the knee and ankle. I'm feeling it in the quad, and then and the end of it or whatever, my quads are sore for like a few days, even though I didn't have like I wasn't pushing anywhere near the same amount of weights as I was, but through the volume I probably got pretty close to the total volume that I moved before. So it's still putting in work, and the soreness overall and from doing this has been a big change or whatever. Noticing like, yeah, I know for sure I used and recruited what I wanted to in doing every movement.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me too. Is like, I hurt my knee not this last October, but the previous October. So it's been like a year and 4 months that I hurt my knee playing kickball with the kids, and that took a long time to heal back up. Hyperextended it, popped real bad. I think I actually dislocated it and relocated it in the same movement because it popped going back and then it popped coming back forward, and it was just and then it swelled up. I had bad pressure on it, couldn't walk on it for almost like 2 weeks. It was real terrible. Ever since then, my knees bothered me. It's never really felt right, but since we started training like this, I feel like my knee is making a huge that bug is really irritating me. It is just flying all over the camera and stuff like that. Oh man, it's just get it real quick. See if you can get it. Hold on, guys. A little technical difficulty here. We gotta. Yeah, it is.
You know what?
Yeah. Sorry. It's this big old mosquito hawk.
Sorry.
Yeah, it just keeps flying around, and it's just like I keep watching it go almost right in front of the camera. I think it actually went in front of the camera a couple times, just aggravate me. So, but no, and that's the thing, because like training like this, my knees have definitely made a huge comeback, because it's like you said, I'm going light enough where I'm retraining myself to be like, let me make sure all of the tension is on the muscle and not the joint. And if I don't feel it in the muscle through the range of motion I'm doing, I either need to change my stance, I need to change the movement, or I need to change the load. So that's what I've done, and it's really brought like a lot of joint comfort, and then it's brought a lot of tension to the muscles, where it's 100% always in the muscle belly, and I can feel the muscle belly. My pumps have never been better. My pumps last longer than they ever have. And then I noticed that like I'm sore maybe 1.5 days. Like if I work out, let's say on a Tuesday, by Wednesday afternoon I'm not sore no more. So I'll be sore like okay, let's just say Monday. I work out Monday, Tuesday I'm sore. Halfway through Wednesday, I'm no longer sore. And then Thursday, I'm good to go again, 100%. And that's made a huge thing, being able to do enough volume with enough load to be able to recover from. Now, if it got to the point where I'll sore for like 3 days in a row, then it's like, okay, this is too much. I need to back off and build into this. But building into it and then resetting, then building into it, then resetting. Now, of course, you can't continuously use the same weights every single week. Eventually, you're going to have to start lifting heavy. But that progression comes over time. Right now, the progression is like, can I handle the volume demand? So it's like, okay, going from 3 sets to 6 sets to 8 sets. Okay, once I get used to doing 3-6-8, 3-6-8 week after week after week, then naturally I'm going to be able to start putting on more weight with each time. Oh, I'm down to 3 sets. Instead of doing 8 sets, I can lift a lot heavier, because it's only 3 sets, and I feel a lot more fresh. So I can just really get these 3 sets, and I could go a lot heavier. Well, I'm doing 6 sets, so the weight has to come down, because now it's kind of like a little marathon. Now I'm like, doing like a 3K. I gotta pace myself and make sure I make it through the workout. So the weights have to come down. Oh, I'm doing 8 sets. This is the 5K. I gotta make sure I make it through to the end. So I have to be kind of conserved with the amount of weight that I use to make sure I'm feeling it in the muscle, I'm getting a pump, and I'm achieving what I'm after while being able to go the distance on the 8 sets. Then whenever you come in on the sets, now it's like, oh cool, I could push it now. I could go heavy while still feeling it without having to worry about having to go the distance. So over time, you're going to be able to like eventually on 6 and 8 set weeks, you're going to go heavier eventually, and the weights are going to come up eventually, but it's going to take a lot longer, which gives you a lot more time to grow in those movements before you hit a wall, and it's just like, oh, I have to change these movements out. If you change the movements out, you got to make sure you pick something you're feeling the muscle in. If you pick it for something you don't even feel it what you're training, it's just kind of like, well, man, how hard are you really training it? If you're not getting a pump in the muscle and you're not feeling it through the whole range of motion, how much are you really getting out of it? I mean, I'm not saying you curl your arm, you're using your bicep no matter what. There's no way around that. But how much are you really training it though? How much load is really on the bicep, and how much strain is really going into? If you're not getting a pump and you're not getting blood in there, how much growing are you doing? Like, blood is what heals the body. It's also what grows the body. So the more blood you could get in there, naturally, it's an all-around win. I don't see there being any negative, like, well, the pump doesn't matter. But it should matter to an extent. Because if you hurt your body, you want to do movement, pain-free movement in a range of motion that doesn't hurt, to get blood in there to heal it back up. Anytime I've ever got hurt, if I sat on it, it took forever to heal up. But if I got moving and got blood in there, it healed up a lot faster. Get back to training quicker. So it kind of goes hand in hand and stuff like that. But
this routine's definitely helped increase like appreciations for certain movements too. Like for me specifically, Romanian deadlifts, never liked them. Never cared for them, just haven't liked them at all. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things of, it's always been more of a strain movement for me than a feel movement. And switching it to what we've been doing more recently, I'm not doing the movement in a way that I get so much of the strain, but I'm able to focus more on the feel. And it's allowed me to kind of focus more on like, okay, if maybe like adjust my form, I guess, mm-hmm. and get it to where I can move in that plane, and it keeps the tension where I want it. I keep the feel through the whole movement, and it's allowed me to gain a better appreciation for the movement, because it's no longer just a strain that I'm feeling. I'm feeling it where I want to, and it's working a lot better for me. So it like I said, there's certain aspects of this too that allow you to get like a better appreciation for certain movements that you may necessarily not like, Or you might love the movement altogether, but when you actually focus in on what exactly you're trying to do, you realize like this isn't actually doing what I want it to do or whatever. I just enjoy the movement itself, but it's not working what I want. So maybe I do need to swap it out, or I can't stand this movement. But when I'm able to actually focus on what I wanted from it, I get exactly what I want from it, and it's making me enjoy it more.
So I agree with that when it comes to my biceps. Like I've always loved training my legs because I've always felt my legs. No matter what I do, I feel them. I love training my legs. Now, don't get me wrong. Well, you just said you felt it in your joints. That's whenever I was powerlifting. But when it comes to bodybuilding, my legs have always been one of those movements that I've never dreaded training them. I've never hated training them. I've always looked forward to leg days because that's always that day that's just like, that's my muscle. That's the one. I feel it. I get the best pumps. I swell up from it. I feel the best from that. Legs are, that's my jam, right? Biceps, arm day, hate them. Always hate them. No matter what movement I've ever done on biceps, I never filled on my biceps. I always hated my biceps. I couldn't stand training my biceps. I never saw results. I never saw growth. And I never saw any change in my biceps. Always had decent forearms, but my arms, to me, were always trash. Since I've changed up the mindset and went to like, it's not about intensity or load. It's about pumping the muscle up. Filling the muscle, pumping the muscle, filling the muscle, pumping the muscle. Watching these older guys doing dumbbell curls with 25 pounds, 30 pounds, 17 pounds, 15 pounds. And it's just kind of like, man, these dudes got like 18 to 22, 23 inch arms, and they're only using these light dumbbells. Like, why are you reaching for the 40s and the 45s? If your arms aren't even half the size of theirs, why are you reaching for those? So lowering the weight and going much lighter and making sure I pick a weight and a movement that I can now fill my biceps. I have made more progress in my biceps this last 2 months than I think I have in the last 2 years, to be completely honest. My biceps are way more full, way more thick from the top of the insertion of the shoulder all the way down to the elbow crease. They look significantly better all the way around. Like they're a lot more thicker and meatier, and it's just kind of like, man, I've been wasting my time trying to lift these heavy intense. Oh, I got to do a heavy set of 8 to 10 or 6 to 10 or 6 to 8, and I got to get those negatives and those force reps and the drop set and the super. I got to go heavy. Got to be a heavy enough weight, man. I got to get it. Got to get to failure. Got to get to failure. Got to push a weight heavy enough to hit failure. But it's like, man, if you're gonna fail in 8 reps, 6 reps, imagine how heavy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to be, right? Even starting off on the workout, all those reps are going to be ridiculously heavy feeling. How much concentration are you putting into that muscle and making sure you're pulling the way you're supposed to pull with that muscle? Mm-hmm. So lighting the load and taking a big step. I mean, a lot of people ego lifting. Yes and no. If you can bench 315, it's not ego lifting. If you could do it for 8 reps and it's clean and smooth and you feel it right, that's not ego lifting. That's just you're strong and people are just jealous. But ego lifting to me, my definition, what I would call ego lifting is like basically trying to keep up with everybody else whenever your muscles require lighter load. So it's just like, okay, yeah, I can curl the 50s and I could do it with perfect form. I can curl 100 pounds, 115, 120 pounds with perfect form for 5 to 6 reps if I wanted to. Perfect form. But I don't feel it when I do that. So that to me, even though it looks good on camera, like, man, your form is absolutely, you just did 95 pounds for 12 reps. Perfect form. Yeah, but I didn't feel it in my biceps at all. I felt nothing in my biceps. Nothing. To me, that's ego lifting. I'm lifting more than what I need to because I'm not getting nothing out of this because I can't even feel it where I'm supposed to feel it. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of times on my shoulder training, my traps always took over. My traps grew really big. Don't get me wrong, I've always had decent shoulders, but I noticed for a while my traps are overpowering my shoulders. And then it's because I'm shrugging the weight a lot. So reducing till you feel it in the muscle is the ticket. That's the key to it. You have to go heavy eventually, but eventually your heavy isn't going to be heavy no more. It might be heavy to someone else, but eventually if you get up to 275 and you're banging that for a set of 12 and you could do it for 15, 16 and grunt up those last couple reps, that's not heavy to you. It's heavy to someone else. It's not heavy to you. That's not ego lifting. Ego lifting is whenever you're doing something out of the means of what you need for your results. To me, that's my new definition of ego lifting. And everyone has their own version of what failure and ego lifting is and stuff. So I think that's going to be it for the training on this one right here. I kind of want to transition over into your diet because I don't want to make the video too long and stuff like that. Any questions, if anyone's still this far along, ask, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the training and your mindsets, which I pretty much already know what everybody's going to say, but nothing because no one ever comments. Okay, so as far as it goes for my diet, what I'm doing is I do 2 days. So my protein stays the same. I'm at 285 grams of protein every day, no matter what, it stays the same. I no longer fluctuate my protein. I keep it the same every single day. My fats are around 20, 25 grams of fat every day, no matter what. I don't fluctuate it. Carbs, that's the wild. That's my wild card, is my carbohydrates. So fats and proteins are here, carbs up and down. Monday, Tuesday, 200 carbohydrates a day. First thing in the morning, right before, right after my workout. Wednesday, I'm going up to 500 carbohydrates. First thing in the morning, right before, right after my workout. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 200 carbohydrates. First thing in the morning, right before my workout, right after my workout. Sunday, I don't work out. Roughly 700 to 800 carbohydrates all throughout the day, zero fat, and 280 grams of protein roughly. And it takes, for those of you who don't understand the way this works, if you eat a lot of carbohydrates and you eat fat, the spike of insulin from the glucose, the blood sugar, is going to open up the cells. So if you eat fat, when you eat fat, the insulin will shuttle the fat directly into the fat cells. So if you're going to eat a lot of carbohydrates, it's going to spike your blood sugar level. The blood sugar is going to get your pancreas to release insulin. Insulin's going to open up the muscle tissue. It's going to pull the carbohydrates out of the muscle, out of the blood, into the muscle. Okay. The fat, if it's in there with the carbohydrates, it's going to pull it into the fat cell almost immediately, because the body will fill up the glucose storage in the muscle with sugar and glucose, and then it shuts it up. It's very difficult to get fat to be used for energy. It wants to be used and stored for later energy and whenever you're in a starvation mode. So if you're going to eat a lot of carbohydrates, you need to keep your fat really, 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 really low. And if you're going to be eating a lot of fat, if you're going to be eating a lot of fat, you need to get your carbohydrates really, really low. It's one or the other. And you can't be like, I'm going to eat a high carb meal and then I'm going to eat a high fat meal in the same day. It's one or the other. You either do a lot of carbs or you do a lot of fat day to day. It's not both, because if you do, you're just going to really end up kind of staying the same. You're going to shuttle a lot of fat. And plus, there's nothing saturated fats do for muscle. There's no essential saturated fats. You need essential fats, fatty acids, omega-3, 6, 9, stuff like that. You don't need saturated fats. Oh, what about hormone production? You need less than what you think. And if you're trying to build muscle, like, carbohydrates are definitely king. It's 2-part water, and that's how you store water in the muscle. It's through carbohydrates. It's what pulls the fluid into the muscle, into the gas tank. There's actually a part of the muscle that is designed to suck in glucose and store it in the muscle, and that's why you look full after you eat carbohydrates, and you look bigger and more full the next day, and you look more plump. It takes 24 to 48 hours for it to fully soak into the muscle, but fat doesn't do that. Carbohydrates do. So that's why it's my wild card. So I move that around, and I do carb timing, where it's first thing in the morning, and I don't get carbs the rest of the day. So the carbs in the morning give me energy throughout the day, and then my body burns fat when I run out of that, and then it gives me energy before my workout and after my workout. And then I don't need any carbs after that, because there's no sense. And then the only fat I get is from salmon, and that's about maybe an hour before I go to bed, because that helps my vitamins and minerals absorb into my system. So that's whenever I do that. That's what's going on with my diet with my carb cycling. Now, what are you doing?
So what I've been doing is, I guess you could call it a carb cycling, but again, I haven't really had a dedicated high day. Mm-hmm. So it's just been the same two things, whatever. So I've just been doing like a ground meat, roughly 2 pounds of ground meat, and then one day I'll do like 7 or 8 ounces of rice, and then the other day I'll do about 12 ounces of rice, and I just fluctuate back and forth. I don't have a dedicated day like you had been doing, where you just upped it to a much higher amount, and then I haven't really changed it over the time. Like, you kind of started in the same area, but then you gradually increased your carbs as you went. Yep. I've just never really changed mine, so it's one of those things of, I want to structure it a lot better, and having like an actual set number of, I want to get this many carbs a day on this day, this many on this day, and then have a dedicated high day as well. And seeing what you swapped yours to recently kind of put it more like into a perspective of, like, I went and did a bit of my own kind of research and got like numbers for different things to be able to put it together to where my numbers for my carbs per day and everything will be roughly what you're doing right now.
Hmm.
And then my protein would be around like 250 ish a day.
Hmm.
And then my carbs, I think, were what, 200, 400, and then on the high day, it'd be about 700 ish. So that's what I'm going to aim for. And then also I'm going to try doing the 2 lows, 1 medium, 3 lows, 1 high.
Right, that's what I'm doing right now too. Yeah, I do. Yeah, 2 lows, medium, 3 lows, and then a high day.
Yeah, 'cause legs is definitely where the medium day will be, because that's the one day where I tend to struggle a lot more after the workout.
Yeah, when you're structuring your diet too, you got to keep in mind, like, you want protein. It doesn't have to be the same amount every single meal. So, like, if it's hard for you to eat, like, if you're going to break your carbohydrates up into 3 meals like I do, then you can adjust your protein. You can go lower protein on the carb meals and higher protein between those. So if you do 3 meals with carbs, 3 meals without carbs, the meals without carbs, you can increase your protein up. Makes it easier to eat. So let's say you do 20 grams, 25 grams with your carbohydrate meals, and then the rest of protein is divided between the 3 meals without carbohydrates. Now, if you want to do carbohydrates with all your meals, that's fine, but it depends on what kind of carbohydrates you eat. You got to be careful, because if you're going to do like breads or wheat or bagels, or if you're going to do like pastas and stuff like that, it might cause bloating. That bloating is going to make you feel full longer. It's going to give you gastro distress, and it's going to make it harder to eat your next meal. So you have to be cautious of what carbs you're eating around what times, because you don't want to eat a carb that's going to cause gastro. So if you want to eat something that's going to bloat you a little bit before your workout, that's fine, because you're going to burn all that up by the time you're done working out and stuff like that. By the time you get done working out, you should be hungry again anyways to eat your next meal. Towards the evening, if you want to eat meals that more bloat you to keep you full longer, if you struggle in the morning with hunger, or you struggle in the evening with hunger, that's where I would put your bloating carbohydrates around to keep you full and keeps you kind of want to stay on your diet, because you're not going to be hungry, right? It's a little trick. Like, if I get hungry in the evenings, not the morning. I'm never hungry in the mornings. So if I was going to eat something that causes bloating, which I do, celery, I eat that in the evenings, because that bloating is perfect in the evenings, because it makes me feel super full. I'm gassy after it, but like, I'm full feeling, so I don't crave any foods, and I'm not like looking for nothing to eat. I'm like, nah, I'm good. So that's a trick too. So, but like I said, if you're going to do them throughout the whole entire day, be selective of what carbs you put where and how. You want faster digesting carbs around your workout, before and after, and then throughout the day you want slower absorbing carbohydrates. Now, if you're going to pick timing like I do, and then that's not really necessarily important. You just got to make sure that with those meals you get the least amount of fat you can, and get your carbs up as high as you can on those meals. So if you're going to do like white rice, that's always a win. No, jasmine rice, any kind of rice really, but brown rice, because that causes a lot of bloating and gastro distress. But if you're only doing it 3 times a day, you do brown rice first thing in the morning. By the time your workout rolls around, you're not bloated from that no more, and you're good to go. But it's just selective. Like for me, what works good for me is fruits. I love doing fruits, like berries and bananas and stuff like that. That does not affect me at all. It's sweet. I can get them out the refrigerator. They're cold. There's no prep time. It's easy to eat, easy to digest. A lot of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. There's a lot of benefits that come with them. No fat. They're just sweet, sugary balls of deliciousness. These little berries, like blueberries especially, they help with blood pressure too. Bananas, cherries, and blueberries all help with blood pressure. It helps regulate blood pressure and control it. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So those are the fruits. Those are the carbohydrates that I prefer. Other carbohydrates I like to get, grits. I love to do grits because it's just straight carbohydrates and it's from corn. So there's no bloating or gastro distress. It's easy in. It doesn't affect my stomach, doesn't hurt my stomach or anything of the sort. On my medium day, that's what I actually do. I do grits to bring my carbohydrates up on Wednesdays. I do grits, and then I also do bagels. And that's how I get those extra 300 carbohydrates on that day. And then the other type of carbohydrates that you can do if you're more worried about blood sugar, you're diabetic, or you have to worry about your insulin and stuff like that, sweet potatoes, brown rice, some fruits are good. I'd still kind of watch the glycemic index on some fruits and stuff like that, because that might affect you negatively. Whole wheat, sourdough. Sourdough is really good for blood sugar levels, keeping them steady, doesn't really spike it. That's another good one you could do. A lot of people don't like beans, but beans are also one of those really, but the problem with beans though is you got to kind of watch it, because some have a lot of fat, some don't have fat, and some have a lot of fiber, some have a lot of protein. So if you're going to be getting a lot of protein from your beans, then you need to adjust your protein from your other sources down to compensate. Bagels have a lot of protein. If you're going to get protein from bagels, you need to adjust your protein sources other places to bring those protein levels down, because it's all calories and it adds. So you kind of got to watch where you're pulling your carbs from and what timing, and you put it on there. But like ultimately, what comes down to is picking stuff you can eat, and you can eat over and over and over again. It's not so, and it's some people like to make it way harder than it needs to be. And it doesn't need to be like it's simple. It might seem like a lot of what I just said, but it's not. Like, look, if you like this type of carbohydrate, but it bloats you, put it in the time of day that you're most hungry, and you won't be hungry no more because you're going to be too bloated. It's that simple. If you need to do more carbs and you're having a hard time eating, reduce the protein on those meals, increase the protein on the non-carb or the low carb meals. Or if you have an issue eating a lot of carbs, then pick easily digestible carbohydrates that are easier to go into your system, that's going to absorb rapidly, and it's not going to make you feel full longer. Higher fibrous foods are going to make you feel full longer. High protein foods are going to make you feel full longer. Foods that swell and bloat, like breads and grains, are going to make you feel full longer. It's not bad if you're in a deficit and you're fighting hunger, but it's bad if you have a high carb day or a medium day and you're struggling to get your food down. It makes it difficult. But it's not so crazy where it's like, no, you can only do sweet potatoes and brown rice, and then sweet potatoes and brown rice, and you can have some oatmeal. It doesn't have to be like that. It's a lot more simple than what people make it out to be. Like, your food doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be bad. It really doesn't. You can flavor it. You can season it. And I'm a big advocate of, like, less is more. The less seasoning you use, the better you are, because the longer you're going to be able to eat that food, because when it does become boring, then you can add seasoning to it and you can stretch it further. If you start off the gate throwing everything at the dish, you're going to get tired of that dish. Not saying, oh, that's a problem because you can't switch it up, because you can switch it up. It's not that serious, right? You can move it around. There's some, where are they getting in at? So that was a bodybuilder, a pro bodybuilder. I forgot. Oh, I saw the videos a couple of days ago, but they're interviewing him. I think it was Sean Rode. I can't remember. Sean Rode or one of those older bodybuilders. They asked him, like, what do you do for your diet? He's like, I eat when I'm hungry. I stick to more higher protein meals. I couldn't tell you how many calories I eat or how many carbs I eat or how much protein or fat. I just eat when I'm hungry, and I stick to more protein and whole foods. And dude was competing in Mr. Olympia. Like, so if you are on the low end of the genetic gene pool and you are unfortunate where you have to take every single little grain into consideration, do it. But if you're not that person and you're more in the middle ground, just look at the nutritional label on the back, and then just be accountable for the amount of carbs, fats, and proteins that you're getting. And just know where you need what. Okay, today's a high carb day, so no fat. And keep my fat as low as I can. Okay, today's a low carb day, almost no carbs at all, so I can afford to eat some egg yolks. I can have some whole yogurt. I can eat some steak. I can have a little bit more salmon or fatty fish. So I can have almonds. I can afford food that has a little bit higher fats in them because I'm not getting carbs today. And I want to keep my calories the same, but I don't need to up my protein, but I want to get a little bit more food so I'm not so hungry. So let me bring my fats up a little bit. As long as your calories are typically capping the same, that's great. You're not necessarily going to lose weight that way because your calories are always going to kind of be the same. Now, don't get me wrong. Your calories need to be only about 200 plus or minus of your maintenance to gain or lose weight. Don't get me wrong. But the whole concept of carb cycling is, instead of looking at like a day-to-day calorie, you look at it as a weekly calorie. So I need, let's say, what's the easy number? Let's say 10. Let's say I need 10,000 calories a day. All right, it seems, I'm just for the sake of math, guys, okay? Let's do 1,000. Okay, I need 1,000 calories a day. That's 7,000 calories a week. So if I bring my calories down to 500 on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, that's 2,000 calorie deficit. So that means on Sunday, I can add 2,000 calories to Sunday in carbohydrates. And now I'm at 7,000 calories for the week. It's not day to day. It's week to week. So you're looking at your weekly total calories. And your your day-to-day calories are doing this, right? They're doing this. But weekly, they're always the same. They're always the same. Plus or minus 200 if you want to gain or lose weight, right? So carb cycling is a little bit different than regular dieting, because with regular dieting, you're looking at your dailies. You're doing the same thing, but instead of focusing on the calories, you're focusing on the carbs. You know, my protein's here, and then my fat is going to be here, and then my carbs are going to be doing this throughout the week, but everything else is straight across the board. right? So I'm not looking at calories. I'm looking at micronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. What are my carbs, fats, and proteins doing? And that's what your calories are. Does it matter what your calories are at that point? No, it really doesn't, because you're not adjusting calories. You're adjusting nutrients. So it's like, okay, 200 grams of protein a day, 25 grams of fat a day, and then all my other calories come from carbohydrates from day to day. So if you get 200 carbs or 500 carbs, does it matter how many calories are that? No, what matters is how do you feel? How are your pumps? Are you gaining weight or losing weight? If you're not gaining weight, lower the carbs 25. Are you gaining, if you're trying to gain weight and you're not gaining weight, increase the carbs by 25 a day. 25 carbs is 100 calories per day, right? Over the course of the week, how many calories is that? It's going to be enough to put on about half a pound. So you adjust your carbs, and that's your wild card. So instead of adjusting calories, you just look at your carbs. It's irrelevant of the calories. But then you have to track how much carbs, fats, and proteins in every single meal. Mm-hmm. All right. So every item you eat, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to get this. Oh, there's 50 carbohydrates in there. I don't have to look at nothing else. Oh, well, there's also 10 grams of protein in there. So that means that I don't have to eat that much meat today. I can bring my meat down because there's 10 grams of protein in there. So when you're building your diet, just take all that into consideration. Now, what most people do is they hear what I say and they go like, cool, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And then they hear someone else say the exact same thing. They're like, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about, and I'm going to do what he says now. So
again, though, you've noticed, and you've even mentioned it before, like I don't bring any meal over here with me because I generally just, when I would get home, I'd eat my last meal. And that's, like I said, from the breakdown of the food that I made for the day or whatever, I just spread it out over like the 4 meals for the day. So the last one would just be whenever I got home, that's when I eat it. And switching it up or whatever, I should be bringing like a meal for, well, I guess I would, on a working day or whatever, I'll eat the meal before the workout, before I leave work, and then I'll have something for directly after we finish working out. Mm-hmm. I'll have something to eat, and then I'll still have my last meal at the house for the day. So.
Yeah, and then if you do like a smoothie, because you talked about putting it all in there and blending it up and making a
smoothie. Just for
like,
ease of like me bringing it to and from work and stuff and bringing it over here.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing too. Like if you get all the ingredients, you can just bring it here and then you can make it after the workout, so it's fresh. You don't have to worry about bringing it to work, having it at work all day, bringing it to the house, and then transporting it from home to work, from work to here to back to. You can just have it in one place and stuff like that. So there's always that option because like. The gym is in my backyard, so it's one of those things where like the kitchen's right there. So if you need to bring the stuff here and make it here, then you can just have it already made for the week, or just make it 2 days or a day at a time or whatever. Or you could pay Julia her food services and she'll just make it for you and stuff like that sometime at point during the day. So, but yeah, just gotta do what makes it easy too and convenient, because that's the thing too. Like having your food ready to go and prepped gives you less excuses to not do your food. If you have your food always made for the following day, even if you're going to be home from work, or if you're like, well, I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow. I'm out of everything today. I'll go get it tomorrow. No, go get it tonight and get it and cook it. So that way when tomorrow rolls around, you wake up, you're not like, oh, I slept in and I have to go to the store, and by the time I do that, that's going to be like an hour and a half. Then I'm going to be behind on these 2 meals, and then by the time I make everything, it's going to be time for my third. I'm just not even going to worry about it today. I'll just do it tomorrow. That's where a lot of people mess up. It's like preparation is king. If you don't prepare, you prepare to fail. All right, so you have to be prepared all the time. You have to be ready to go all the time. Your food always has to be ready. The only day I do not prep for is Sunday, because that's my high carb day. I eat a lot of grits, and that's a minute in the microwave. Bing! Right, I'm done, and then I get 100, not 100. I get like 200 grams of protein, but I drink protein shakes. So on that day, I'm not gonna lie, I'm lazy with my meat. I don't eat the meat. I generally do protein shakes on Sundays because it's like, I got to get 280 grams of protein a day, but I'm also eating this much carbs, and I don't want that sitting in my stomach. So I'm just gonna drink a protein shake between my meals, make it easy on me, and eat my carbs. And I don't even eat protein with my carbs. If I'm being completely transparent here, I don't even eat protein with my carbs. I'll eat a meal of like grits and cranberry juice, and then like an hour later when I get thirsty, I'll have a protein shake, and then I'll wait till I start getting hungry again, and then I'll have another meal of either grits or rice, and then I'll have another protein shake. And that's what I do on Sundays. I know it's not ideal, but you know what, it's working. And it doesn't have to be that serious. I think I'm going to kind of wrap it up on this one. Is there anything you want to add or anything you want to touch on?
I think that's pretty good for today.
Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I forgot to bring up and talk about and mention, but you know what? There's always next week. So we'll see y'all then.
Later.